cut through the hype. Beth and Rip are back, and the internet's already acting like that's all we need. But if you're here for more than fan service, if you actually care whether this story still has teeth, you're asking the right question. Is this just Yellowstone playing its greatest hits to keep you watching? Or are we about to see something bold, something that finally takes these two characters beyond the chaos and into something that actually matters? Let's unpack what their return really means and whether it's worth your time. Beth and Rip's return. Fan service or fresh storytelling? Beth and Rip are back and fans couldn't click fast enough. Their return instantly lights a fire under the upcoming Yellowstone spin-off. But the real question is whether this move is about deepening the story or simply keeping the fan base fed. There's no denying their chemistry, their volatility, and their raw emotional weight. But bringing them back also raises a red flag. Is the spin-off expanding the universe, or is it just clinging to the most popular characters to guarantee viewership? On one hand, Beth and Rip are the emotional backbone of Yellowstone. Their love story is brutal, messy, and oddly tender, something that's been earned over seasons, not forced. If the new series builds on their evolution, showing how they navigate legacy, loss, or even parenthood with Carter in tow, then we could be looking at a rich, character-driven drama that honors everything Sheridan built. But if the story falls back into familiar loops, bar fights, smirks, and monologues about loyalty, then it risks turning beloved icons into flat reruns of themselves. There's a fine line between giving the audience what they want and giving them what they didn't know they needed. If this spin-off plays it safe, it'll coast on nostalgia and burn out fast. But if it dares to challenge Beth and Rip to test their bond in new ways and let them evolve beyond their Yellowstone roots, then it might do more than just entertain. It might surprise us. And in a universe this crowded with prequels and power plays, that's the one thing fans aren't expecting, but desperately need. Carter's comeback, the most underrated character arc. Carter was never meant to steal the spotlight in Yellowstone, but maybe that's what makes his return so compelling. Introduced as a troubled, foul-mouthed teen with a tragic past, Carter served as both a mirror and a disruption to Beth's chaotic world. His storyline was raw, uncertain, and sometimes overshadowed by the towering presence of the Dutton drama. Yet buried beneath all that grit was a character on the verge of something powerful. Now, with Finn Little confirmed to return in the spin-off, Carter may finally get the space to evolve, and fans should pay attention. What makes Carter's arc so underrated is its emotional complexity. He wasn't just another ranch hand or disposable side character, he was Beth's accidental redemption project. Their twisted mother-son dynamic gave us some of the show's most emotionally charged scenes, moments that hinted at vulnerability beneath Beth's fire and resilience under Carter's grief. But just as that relationship began to take root, he disappeared from the spotlight. Now, with the next chapter looming, the real question is, who has Carter become? And what does he bring back with him? If this spin-off dares to give Carter the narrative weight he deserves, we could be looking at one of the most surprising and meaningful transformations in the Yellowstone universe. His return isn't just a character comeback, it's an opportunity to explore legacy from the bottom up through the eyes of someone who wasn't born into the Dutton name, but still might inherit its burdens. And if Beth and Rip are along for the ride, the emotional stakes could go from high to absolutely explosive. Is the spin-off a true sequel, or just Yellowstone 2.0? As excitement builds around the upcoming Yellowstone spin-off, one question keeps bubbling beneath the surface. Are we getting a bold new chapter, or just a rebranded rerun? With Beth and Rip returning, it's easy to assume the show is simply picking up where it left off, but a closer look suggests this could be a tonal pivot, a shift in perspective that reshapes everything we thought we knew about the Dutton legacy. Is Taylor Sheridan expanding the universe, or just doubling down on the formula that turned Yellowstone into a cultural juggernaut? Sequels typically move forward, new conflicts, new characters, new terrain. But Yellowstone has always blurred the line between saga and soap opera, and this spin-off could walk that same tightrope. Bringing back fan-favorite characters might anchor the show emotionally, but it also risks tethering it too tightly to the past. Will the spin-off dare to evolve, challenge the audience, and explore the fallout of the Dutton family's decisions? Or will it just repackage the power plays and horse wrangling with a shinier coat? The answer might lie in the tone more than the plot. If the new series focuses on legacy, on what's left after fire, blood, and land grabs, then it has a chance to deepen the mythos rather than dilute it. But if it leans too heavily on nostalgia and familiar beats, it could end up as Yellowstone 2.0, comfort food for fans, but not much more. The Duttons don't need a rerun, they need a reckoning. And whether this spin-off delivers, that will determine whether it's truly a sequel or just a shadow of its former self. Can this new cast capture the original Yellowstone magic? Capturing the magic of Yellowstone is no small task. The original cast didn't just play characters, they embodied a brutal, blood-soaked mythology that hooked audiences from the first scene. Every glare, every betrayal, every ride across the Montana horizon felt weighty because the actors sold it with a kind of raw, lived-in grit. Now, with a spin-off on the horizon and new cast members stepping into the fire, the pressure is on. Can they carry the same emotional weight? Or will the new faces get lost in the long shadows of Beth Rip and the Dutton name? The return of Kelly Riley and Cole Hauser certainly helps anchor the series, but it also raises the stakes. Their chemistry was forged over years of chaos and catharsis, and any newcomer sharing screen time will have to either match that intensity or risk being flattened by it. There's also the delicate balance of tone to consider. Yellowstone walked a fine line between gritty realism and high-stakes melodrama, and without the right cast, the spin-off could lean too far into one or the other, losing the grounded tension that made the original so addictive. But fresh blood doesn't always mean compromise, it can mean evolution. If the new cast brings something unexpected, something emotionally honest, or dangerously unpredictable, they could breathe new life into a world that was starting to echo itself. The real test won't be whether they mimic the original magic, but whether they generate sparks of their own. Because the Dutton story doesn't need repetition, it needs resurrection. And whether or not this cast delivers it will decide if this spin-off becomes a new classic or just another chapter we forget. What this spin-off says about the future of Taylor Sheridan's TV empire. Taylor Sheridan isn't just building shows anymore, he's building a legacy, and the new Yellowstone spin-off could be the most telling piece of his empire yet. With Beth and Rip at the center of this next chapter, Sheridan is signaling that the emotional spine of Yellowstone still matters just as much as the land, the politics, or the power struggles. But this isn't just about two characters returning, it's about whether his entire universe can sustain itself beyond the original juggernaut. Every great empire reaches a moment where it must expand or implode, and this might be Sheridan's. So far, Sheridan's world building has been prolific. 1883, 1923, Tulsa King, Mayor of Kingstown, each series a new branch of the same wild, violent family tree. But volume alone doesn't guarantee endurance. With this spin-off, he's not just adding another show, he's testing whether his audience will follow familiar characters into new emotional terrain. It's a gamble with high stakes. If it feels fresh, it cements him as the architect of modern Western storytelling. If it feels recycled, it could reveal the first cracks in his storytelling armor. Ultimately, this spin-off will act as a barometer for the future of Sheridan's creative vision. Can he keep delivering grounded, character-driven dramas while expanding the scope and emotional depth of his universe? Or will the weight of expectation start to pull his empire inward? The answer won't just impact one series. It could redefine how serialized storytelling evolves in the streaming era, with Sheridan standing at the front lines of that revolution or just behind the curve. Beth and Rip might bring in the viewers, but if this spin-off doesn't go deeper, it'll burn out faster than a summer fire in Montana. This isn't just about who's back on screen, it's about whether this story still has room to grow or if it's collapsing under the weight of its own legend. You've seen what's at stake. Now the question is, will Sheridan take the risk or just take the applause? Stick around, because if this universe shifts even slightly, you'll want to be the one who saw it coming first.